One day I was on Tinder. I was single as fuck, so I wanted to find someone to mingle with. I met this really hot dude and started messaging him. He said that I was so sexy and he wanted a shag with me. I said okay daddy, meet me at the bridge tomorrow at noon for a quick shag. So the next day I messaged him and told him to get ready for our creamy meetup. He said okay and I started walking to the bridge. When I got there I saw my teacher. I was like, oh hello sir, what are you doing here? And he replied with, I'm meeting my Tinder date. I was thinking OMG what the fuck, he's a catfish. I said oh me too, and then I quickly knocked him to the floor and we shagged. Surprisingly, it wasn't that bad. At school the next day he said oh hello Baba Grill, and then he started doing sexy web dance and all the girls were drooling. Anyways, we are now married with 10 kids because we love shagging and we have 3 dogs. 9 cats including mine, wink wink, and 1 dick. Sorry, I meant 1 hamster. Haha. But then one day he started shaking uncontrollably. And no, it wasn't from me. I dumped him because he was like 69 years old and that bitch was all wrinkled and crinkled. Anyways, I married my cousin and we shagged. Turns out my ex-husband aka my teacher has bowel cancer from my pussy power.
It was Halloween one year and we were handing out candy to the little undeserving bastard shits that knocked on our door. This one fat ginger bitch knocked on the door and of course she chose the biggest candy bar in the bucket and she said she wants another one. I said listen here you tubby orange bitch, you get 1 fucking candy bar, you don't look like you need another one. She grabbed another candy bar from the bucket and started laughing at me and I said to her, if you weren't in a costume I would think you were the grand pumpkin, you giant orange bitch. She took her shoe off and threw it at my face, and that's when I lunged at her and tackled her off the balcony. I started pulling at her orange haystack hair and she started screaming for her dad. Her dad dragged me off the little ginger bitch and he yelled at me saying who the hell beats up a 7-year-old. I said me you old twat, and I took her entire bucket of candy and walked inside. The cops came over and I started fake crying saying she attacked me first and I was defending myself, and my dog was agreeing and defending me. The police went to the tubby ginger thot's house and shot it up. That's what you get for messing with me, you expanded Ed Sheeran looking bitch.
One time I was in class when our teacher introduced the new student. Her name was Greta Grills. She walked into class wearing a hiking outfit and pitched a tent at her desk. Our teacher named Miss Boy Scout announced to the class that we will be going camping for the weekend, and Greta Grills started pissing in a flask to save it for the trip. We got on the bus and Greta sat on the aisle of the floor and started rubbing 2 sticks together to create a fire. We arrived at Yellowstone National Park and Greta ran off the bus and started pissing on the trees to mark her territory. The camp guide started teaching us all how to pitch our tents when we suddenly saw Greta in the distance tying ropes to a tree and abseiling down the cliff. I told Miss Boy Scout that Greta went over the edge, and Miss Boy Scout started shoving marshmallows up her ass and bending over the campfire in fear. We all ran over there to see Greta landing on the ground 100 meters below and then running into a cave. All the kids started screaming and Miss Boy Scout pulled the marshmallows out of her ass and shoved them in the kids' mouths to get them to stop. The camp guide started rushing us down the trail that leads to the cave and it was starting to get dark out. By the time we got to the ground it was pitch black out and freezing cold, and we could hear some disturbingly erotic sounds coming from inside the cave. We all ran to the cave to see Greta fisting herself to keep her fingers warm because they got frostbite. Miss Boy Scout said everyone should stay in the cave overnight because it's cold out, and that we should all take turns fisting Greta so we don't get frostbite. Miss Boy Scout volunteered to fist Greta first, and she started passing around Greta's piss flask because we forgot our water bottles at the top of the cliff. 20 minutes passed and Miss Boy Scout was still fisting Greta, and we suddenly heard a loud growl coming from deep inside the cave. A massive grizzly bear sprinted out violently and Greta Grills jumped up and yelled, "Get back everyone!" And she shoved her fist in the bear's mouth. The bear immediately calmed down because Greta's fisty hand reminded it of fish sticks, and it went back into its spot deep in the cave and fell asleep because of high cholesterol. We all ran out of there and got back on the bus and we all called her Grizzly Greta the whole way back. It turns out the bear had bowel cancer.
One day I was in school, I really needed a piss, so I went into the girls' toilets. I was shocked at what I witnessed when I walked in. This is a monstrous act, I yelled out. It was Mrs. Harn, the scene's teacher, and Miss Plump, the English teacher. And they were singing it together. I could hear all the wet noises of their creamy kisses. I violently threw in the toilet when they asked me if I wanted to join in. I said, oh no, please no. I walked out of the toilets just to be approached with another fucking set those, and Miss Bdalapia wanted me to la dance on her. I said the fuck and started running to the school gates, but she looked it and told me I could never escape, so I climbed over the gate like a fucking Spider Woman. Then I said bye, but they hot you all did bowel cancer. Turns out they all did bowel cancer, and a week later the school was closed down for having perverted teachers.
I feel glorious.
Katie, can you clean my room?
Why would I do that?
Mum said you have to.
Yeah. Mum!
What is it?
Well, basically, Lucy said if I could clean our room. Is that true?
Lucy Edwards!
Oh, Mom! Mom's right there, you know.
Well, she just hit me!
My poor eardrums.
Shut up, Katie! Girls! Katie Edwards!
Yeah?
One time it was Christmas and my legal guardian took me to the mall to take a photo with the fake Santa that sits in the middle of the shopping center. I was waiting in the line with all the disgusting snot-nosed bastards when the abnormally obese Santa arrived. I suddenly became violently hungry, so I told my legal guardian to stay put while I go purchase and devour a bean burrito. I ate that shit like I was in a competition, then I confidently strutted back to the line. There were 2 kids left in front of us and I was losing my patience, so I struck one of them in the back of the head. The revolting child in front of me finished his photo, so I opened the gate with my chin up and began catwalking to Santa's abnormally large leg. I threw it back on his leg and I was ready to take the photo, when suddenly I didn't feel too good. I just remembered I'm disgustingly allergic to bean burritos, and that's when my stomach started to beatbox. Santa said say cheese, and that's when my abnormally tight hole expanded and began pouring out my bean shit like a tap faucet. Santa started going ho 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 ho, and that's when the cameraman started recording and taking photos. The bean shit was spraying everywhere like a busted pipe, and it began painting the walls. I started slowly yet erotically levitating from the force, causing the shit to pour on Santa, making him look like Bigfoot, and all I could hear were the camera clicks. I lost about 30 kilos and slowly floated down back into Santa's mushy lap, and there were families crying and hiding in the mall's bomb shelter. The photos developed and my parents framed them and hung them all over the house, and the Santa always hits me up every time I eat a bean burrito so I can sit on his lap again. It turns out I had bowel cancer.
One time when I was 10 I went on Omegle because I was a loser and had no friends. I used the video chat option and everyone kept skipping me, until someone didn't. His screen was black. I said hi but he only responded through the Omegle text. I said why aren't you talking and showing yourself, and he said he's very shy. He told me his name was Jeremy and he is also 10 years old. We were just chatting about school and stuff, when he suddenly asked me for my address. I didn't think twice about it and I literally sent him my entire address, and then it said stranger has disconnected. A few days passed and I didn't think anything of it, until a letter slipped under our front door. It said from Jeremy in big letters. My mom was in the shower so I opened it up and it said hi, it's Jeremy, I'm coming over tonight so we can hang out. I literally got so excited so I ran upstairs and started wearing my clothes that didn't have stains. My mom finished showering and asked me why I'm wearing my church clothes, and I told her a friend is coming over. The doorbell rang and my mom dramatically gasped and said but you have no friends, and I said that was until today bitch, and I strutted towards the front door. I put my hand on the doorknob and that's when my mom screamed wait. One time I had a crush on this guy named Austin. He was sexy and just my type, football player, blonde hair, blue eyes, etc. I really wanted to start talking to him but first I went through his socials to see what he liked so I can get an idea of his personality, and I found out he was country and liked country girls. So I decided to give myself a makeover. I ordered some very authentic Alabama clothes straight from the south and bleached my hair until it was fried just like the girls he follows. I looked really bad but at least I'll be getting some country eggplant. The next day at school I decided to approach him during physics class because we had to work in groups of 5 and it worked out perfectly. We started talking and got to know each other a little bit and then we started talking daily. We became pretty close friends. A month passes by and homecoming was coming up soon so I asked if he was gonna go and he said he was, so I thought it would be perfect to confess my feelings that night. Then skip to the night of homecoming. I put on my favorite dress and heels and made sure I looked good. I arrived to the school and meet up with my friends to wait for Austin. An hour passed by and I got worried so I walked to the bathroom to call him. I opened the door to see my crush doing it with his mom in the girls' bathroom at school. I went off on him for bullying me behind my back and for also ditching me at homecoming. I ran away crying. It turns out he was in love with his mom instead. I went outside to calm down and I saw my economics teacher Mr. Smith walk over to me. He asked me what was wrong and I told him the whole story and he comforted me. We ditched homecoming and went to his house to Netflix and chill. The next week at school we had an assembly because there were rumors about a student going out with a teacher and I was like oh shit. Then the whole SWAT team barged into the gym and arrested Mr. Smith cause there was evidence that we streamed and creamed all over his bedroom and now I'm in DILF rehab.
Grandma, what do you call water that is cold?
Cold water.
What do you call water that is hot?
Hot water.
What do you call water that is frozen?
Frozen water.
No, it's called ice.
So I had this friend called Betty Sweetie, and she would always hiss at me like she was a fucking cat. I was so sick of this bullshit because she did it every day, and some days she would even scratch me with her long ass nails. She crawled around the class and refused to eat the school meals because it wasn't cat food. No one wanted to be her friend, but my mom forced me to invite her over. So I waited for her outside school, and obviously she came out on her hands and knees. She squatted down in the car, and it looked like she was pissing on the seat. Anyways, we got to my house, and she immediately doubled the cat food that was on the floor. But then something weirder happened. I saw her upstairs, and she was twerking on my head doll. I said, what the fuck? And she jumped out the window, and she thought she would land on her feet. But that bitch landed on her back. She violently broke her back. The cat was dead. Her skin shed. We all celebrated with bread. Betty Sweetie was gone for good, and our school threw a party. But her ghost still haunts me and my head doll. Turns out my heady doll has bowel cancer. One day it was my birthday, and it was a school day. I decided to bring in a bag of sweets to hand out to everyone. I gave a packet of love hearts to my crush. His name was Barry, by the way, and winked at him. Anyways, I started hearing a loud rumble. I looked around at the class and saw my crush turning green. I said, what the fuck? He shot into the air and starts doing the walk dance. The whole school started shaking because my crush was letting set out faster than how I did your mom last night. Anyway, the whole classroom looked like the fucking Willy Wonka factory, and this one ugly bit started licking the set that was on the walls. Then my teacher started joining in. Everyone was drooling because it tasted so nice. I joined in and put the cack on my face like it was a face mask. It smoothed my skin so much I definitely recommend. Anyways, I got a knife and stabbed my crush. He exploded and all his guts were over me. We took his corpse to the graveyard and buried him. We sang a song in his honor now from that I make it drought. That's a what it a bucket and a mock. That's a what I'm talking what that's a what. We all danced to the song and my teacher posted it on Facebook with the caption, welcome all slump for Barry, everyone is welcome. Anyways, turns out Barry had bowel cancer.
One day I went to the hospital. I was visiting my great uncle because he had bowel cancer, diabetes, nipple piercing rash, the black plague, heart disease, pneumonia, arthritis, coronavirus, tuberculosis, asthma, werewolf syndrome, saggy willy disease, and small dick syndrome. He was 69 years of age and he was very ill, as you can tell. He was slowly dying, so before he died, my mom wanted to do one last thing altogether. We went to a water park. Like, what the actual fuck? He is literally almost dead. Anyways, we were going down the Spank Me Daddy slide when all of a sudden, my great uncle let out the most sloppy, gloppy, Willy is floppy, snobby bobby, ploppy, sag, nag shit. It smeared all over the water slide walls, and it got mixed into the pool at the bottom of the slide. The shit flew onto our heads and our hair. It took me 3,384 showers to get it out. It was that powerful. Anyways, my great uncle started crying and then he suddenly drowned. I tried to do CPR, but he started having a heart attack. He later died that day. Did I tell you he had WAP syndrome? It stands for wonky ass penis. Peace out.
So one day, my grandma decided it would be a good idea to go horse riding together. I took riding lessons so I knew I wouldn't fall off. But my grandma, this bitch isn't any years old. I thought we would just be riding little ponies that are trained well, but no. When we got to the stables, my grandma had this giant thick nail hands horse. I had a tiny little pony which I thought was quite disrespectful seeing as I take lessons, but whatever. Anyways, our fucking instructor said we had to gallop across fields. I was like, holy shit, my grandma will die, mate. He didn't listen, so we set out across the moors. We were going at like the Tacos Camille an hour, and then it hit me. No, it literally hit me. My grandma flew into me and my horse. She flew up into the sky and was sharding all over the place. She looked like a bird. She was doing elephant turns. She was screaming, for some reason she was enjoying it. She landed on the ground and I heard her neck snap. It went crack. Fucking twat. She was lying in an ungodly position and she couldn't move. She started singing, Silent Night, Holy Night. She was rushed to the hospital and she died. When I went to visit her grave, I heard a weird noise. It went something like this.
Alta tisk glat og glat.
Okay, so one day my school and I were going on a trip to Wani Fani Thema Park, and I could not wait for it. On the night before the trip, I asked my Mama Wimmy to tuck me into my bed. Mama Wimmy said yes, and I ran upstairs believing I was the next Olympian because Jim Kilcore was running through my veins. However, as I was running up the stairs, I suddenly felt the urge to vomit. Mama Wimmy's casserole turned out to have my dog's juicy, slimy, sloppy, moppy hot shit in it instead of the gravy, so anyway, as I'm now clenching my tum-tum in slow motion, my dog, the one who shot in my Mama Wimmy's casserole, decided to run in front of me right when the shitterole decided to fly. My dog was covered in the most gloopy, slimy, spoopy, moist, smelly, like my mummy's belly, wobbly, globbly, shouty juice to the point where he looked like he was coated in Shellymp sewage. I started falling down the stairs in slow motion as my Mama Wimmy caught me in slow motion. I now have a Nobel Prize for inventing a new type of chemical in my shouty, nasty, fishy, gloopy vomit. Oh, and also my dog turned out to have a super rare, advanced form of bowel cancer. One time I was in the bathroom at Walmart taking a violent shit and I noticed someone kept watching me through the crack. I said, if you don't fuck off, I'll kick your ass so hard my foot will come out through your mouth. He then started hysterically crying and he ran out. I was thinking what a little pathetic bitch was he. I couldn't flush the toilet because it was clogged, so I just left all the shit in there for the next lucky fucker to come along and witness it. I saw the man that was staring at me go back into the bathroom, and that's when I realized I left my phone on the toilet roll holder. I went inside the stall to see the man eating my shit like it was a McDonald's 4-course meal with dessert and a free side. He then turned around and started hysterically crying again, and he ran out of the store with shit all over his face. I got my phone and left that bitch faster than my dad left me when I was a child. I never went to that Walmart ever again.